What is going on, everybody? Welcome to GLE. Got a real treat for you today. This is a gentleman that I had the pleasure to meet a couple years back, and it's a funny story how we met. I met this gentleman, Joe Neri, at one of the Realty Simplified LLC events with our buddy Nicole Kungavi. My brother-in-law, Moses Garcia, had told me about these real estate events, and he and I were always talking real estate and business, and I'd been thinking about getting into it, and it was one of those things where I was thinking of Bradley's comments, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. So I'm like, man, I got to go to these events. They're on Saturdays, and back then, I was just a 9-to-5 guy. So, I'm like, man, I go work on a Saturday morning, it's dipping into my personal time a little bit. But I go to this event, and Joe's there, and he gets up and speaks a little bit, and he was a really, really impressive speaker, an impressive guy, very impactful. And we were on a break, and I remember this vividly because this is why I felt drawn to Joe originally, because he validated an idea that I'd been questioning for a long time, because I'd heard of this infinite banking concept and becoming your own bank. And it was one of those things, you kind of hear about it, and I thought it was too good to be true. And I'd questioned it and never really dug into it that much. And that topic came up, and I was listening to Joe talk about it, and I had never met anybody that had done it or, was really familiar with it. So it kind of excited me. I'm like, man, this guy, he not only knows it, but he does it. And I was like, I got to learn more about Joe and what he's doing. So thrilled to have you on the show today, Joe, and share with the GLE
Thanks, bud.
network
Appreciate
all the stuff
it, man.
that you're doing, man.
You got a great voice for this.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I have a good face for radio, huh?
Yeah, for sure. No, so I remember that day. I remember talking about it. Well, for the most part, whenever I talk about that topic, nobody really knows about it. So it almost goes over most people's head, And that was just one of those events where when everybody's in that mindset where we're kind of looking at real estate and looking at finance and looking at different ways to accumulate wealth, you're open to that. But for the most part, I don't get, it's always what are you talking about? I'm almost to hey, if you want to learn it, there's a bunch of videos here, and then I send them to the videos, and when they're done watching it, call me if you're interested,
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, we got a lot to talk about, because I actually shared this with my network in a previous podcast episode where I was giving some tips and sharing them out. And this was one of them, just really looking into and understanding life insurance better. And, just what exactly it's all about. Cause there's all sorts of different opinions on it. We'll talk about it and get into details here in a little bit, but I want to hear more about you, man, and your background. Cause I know you're from the Philippines. You came over at 12 years old, share a little bit about you and who you are with our audience, man.
So I was born and raised in the Philippines, a very, very small island. It's called Camigan Island. You can actually walk around it in a day. Okay, so I grew up with being on the beach, mountain beach, rainforest. That was my childhood. I came to the United States when I was 12 years old, lived in New York for a couple of years. I mean, imagine living in that island and then going to New York and then just seeing all this massive buildings. It was like a culture shock for me, right? So I lived there for a couple of years, and then my mom's brother lived in Houston, so she decided to move here and take the whole family here. So I ended up moving to Houston, automatically living in Clear Lake, and I've been here ever since. And I try to visit as much as I can. So for the most part, after that, I went to college there for a few years. So that was a good learning experience for me.
College in the Philippines?
In Asia, the Philippines, yeah.
Crazy.
So I spent about 4 years there, and my mom thinks it was a waste because she paid for the whole thing, and I basically just kind of partied there, and I didn't really finish school over there. But to me, that was a great just learning that street smarts, right? Just being by yourself, So I always tell people, if you get a chance to just get away, because sometimes your parents love you and they want to do everything for you, but it's actually not the best. I guess you could say I never learned the value of money growing up. you know?
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So it's like everything is given to you, and then I have to kind of take that back, right? Because you're everything is given to you, so you don't really understand it. So you don't know what money is. You know, you don't
Right.
know the value of it. You don't know how to manage it. You don't understand it. So that helped me, right? That helped me, that whole experience, just living there, like understanding that, and then coming back, and then finishing college over here.
Yeah.
Went to U of H. Actually, when I came back, I worked in the restaurant for a long time. I was in the hospitality industry for a long time. So I served, I bartended, I did all of that. And it wasn't until my early 30s when I decided to go to college. And it wasn't really until this past 10 years where I really got down into the finance part.
Mhm.
I've always liked finance. I've always liked real estate. I started probably in my early 20s, but I didn't really know what I was doing.
What do your parents
You
do?
know, does that make sense? Like you just kind of like, but I
You still there, man? I think I might have lost you.
how's that?
I'm hearing you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, let's start from I'll just edit that out. So I'm curious, what do your parents do?
So my mom is a nurse. My whole family's are nurses. If you look at most Filipinos are nurses, like everybody.
Oh, really?
I was a nurse. I was in nursing school.
Oh,
Like
okay.
growing up, like my mom was like, "You need to be a nurse. You need to be the nurse and engineer." You know, so it's kind
Yeah.
of like one of those Asian things where you're
Yeah.
either gonna be a doctor or you're gonna be in the medical field, right? Medical field or like some sort of engineer. You know,
Right.
so I was pushed towards my mom. So going back to my mom's a nurse. My sisters and my whole family's are nurses. Even my wife is a nurse. And my dad was grew up in politics. Like his family was in politics in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like their background. So, but my mom really wanted to take us out of that environment and bring us here and educate us here. So that's why we went to the States. That's why we migrated to the United States for like a better life, I would say.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. So you were mentioning about real estate and how, it's one of those things that you're kind of aware of, but maybe don't really get, kind of elaborate more on the real estate side of things and how you got into real estate originally.
So originally, when I went to the Philippines, I went to school there. I met one of my best friends. He's still in the Philippines right now. His name is Brian, right? So he gave me a book. Okay, he gave me a book, and if you're in the real estate industry, I'm sure everybody knows what this book is. It's like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, right? So read that book, read it in like 2 days, and I'm like, wow, you could say like it changed my life because it
Yeah.
completely veered me from going in this direction of I guess getting a job, right? Like going to college, the basic stuff that people teach you.
Yeah.
Like you go to school, you do good grades, then you go to college, you get a degree, you find a good job, whatever field that is, and then you save money.
Yeah, I
And then
mean,
you
that sounds like
retire,
it sounds like you grew
so
up in a family environment, from your culture.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what you were taught.
yeah.
This is what you do.
So I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah, exactly,
what
right?
I do just after that book, it's like it just completely like opened my mind to all of that. So I started pursuing that probably in my early 20s. But like I said, it's without guidance or without understanding anything, without having any mentors. It was very, very difficult just breaking that barrier,
Mhm.
just getting through that, getting past like all the programming or everything, right, that you had from your kid. So I had to break that down, meaning I had to like read a lot of books, just changing the belief systems. That was really the main thing, just breaking that down and understanding what it takes to be successful. So
Yeah.
So after he gave me that book, it changed my life, and I started going to that real estate path, man. And then it took me to where I am right now.
So where, I mean, where in real estate did you like, so you read this book and it like opened your mind, you know, that book is just a classic, right? So many people have been
yeah, it's a
impacted
classic.
by Robert, and I've definitely read it for sure. And you know, really good insights in there. When you got into real estate and started, you know, you started learning, like, how did you start? What was like your first deal?
I'm trying to look back. Okay, first deal. So when I started this business, like I said, I didn't know anything, right? So I tried a bunch of different things, and I spent a bunch of money paying for this, paying for that, figuring out. I mean, of course, that's not the only book that I've read in real estate. I read
Right.
a bunch of books in real estate, but eventually I got in this group in the Rich Club where I think their charge at that time was like 15,000 for like a mentorship, you know. So I paid them 15 grand, got a mentorship, and that really elevated my game as far as like understanding like the legalities of it, and just like the marketing aspect, like how to get deals, right? So I was able to get deals, but the next hurdle is like, how do you close the deals? You know? So I was able to like, I was knocking on doors for a couple of years, like maybe like 2 years, just knocking on doors, putting bandit signs out there and understanding like, hey, when somebody makes a call, what do you say? And after that, you go to the appointment. And then when you go to the appointment, you know, you evaluate the house. And then just closing that deal, but I was stuck there, you know? So after that, I started looking for people that were already successful in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I started talking to them and asking them if I can work for free, basically. So
it's a good strategy.
Huh?
That's a great strategy.
Yeah. So I started working for free, meaning I will get deals for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just take me to the appointments, you know?
Right.
And then we'll figure out like the cuts, right? You know, like sometimes I think at that time they were paying me like 3%, you know, of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that, man. I was knocking on doors, and that's how I got my first deal, you know? And at my first deal, I probably made like 10,000, but the other guy made like 60.
Yeah, right.
But at that time I didn't care, you know, I was like,
Yeah,
I just wanted to learn, right?
sure.
And I think after that part is where I really understood how to close the deal, you know, because this guy was just good, like his body language, the way he approached everything, you know, like I just started paying attention. Like I would just sit there and watch him, you know.
Yeah.
I would just watch him talk. I would watch him like from where when he got out of his car all the way. We would spend like 2 to 3 hours with these people, you know,
Right.
and just kind of like really understanding their problem, right? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to solve a problem for somebody, you know.
Sure. So what you just
yeah.
described to me, Joe, like it stands out to me as the perfect example of your different options in the world, right? You can go to school and get a job, you know, that's all good stuff. You can do the entrepreneur thing and figure it out on your own. It may, you know, you may make some mistakes. It may cost you money, you know, a little more money to do that or whatever. Or you can really seek out people that have done what you want to do and figure out how to learn from them. And you can do that from books, right? You can do that from podcasts, you know, that's kind of free ways to do it. But, you know, the best way, kind of what you're saying, you know, if you're willing to do it, find somebody who's willing to mentor you and just get around them, you know?
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Looks like
Phil?
you're back.
Okay. Sorry about that, man. I know what's going on, but no, I got you, man. I mean, that's that. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me, Phil?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
A little delay going on.
Okay, so we're back. Where were we?
Oh, I was
Where
just
were we again? Sorry.
you know, so it's so cool when you can find someone who's willing to mentor you, right? And just get around them and spend time with them and just you know, learn, right? And You know, it sounds like that's one cool strategy you've employed that's one of the keys to your success. Would you agree?
No, 100%, man. I mean, it's actually not that hard now that I look back, you know. It's like if you're willing to do the work, like I said, I didn't care. I was after the knowledge. I wasn't after the money, you know, in the
Right.
beginning. And the money just kind of came right after I learned everything, right? But the knowledge that you get from somebody that's been doing it for a long time is priceless, you know. And not a lot of people will do that. You know, like you can approach somebody, and most people will do it. Like even now, you know, now I help as much people as I can. I'm always open to like, hey, if I have somebody that wants to learn, they'll call me and I'll tell them everything I know, you know, and it's just up to them to implement it. But the problem is
That's the hard
99%
part.
of people won't do it, you know.
Right.
So you have to kind of learn how to filter people out, you know. So now in the beginning, especially with anything, right, I just tell them that, hey, this is not hard, this is super hard, you know, and I'll give them a task that's hard to accomplish, you know, and see if they're gonna do it. And then most people will try for one day and go, this is not for me, you know.
Right.
So it just
Right.
kind of filters people out. But yeah, man, like you have to be willing to do whatever it takes, you know, to be successful, especially when I don't really look for like what do you call it, I don't really think of plan B, right? Like it's like this is it, this is what I want to go, this is the direction that I'm going to, and that's where I'm going, right? So there's really no like, oh, if this happens, you know, like I'm gonna, yeah, I can get a job, I guess, if I want to, you know. I have a college degree, but I don't want to, you know. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
man. I think that's a common thing amongst entrepreneurs is especially the successful ones is they don't have a plan B. You know, they go
yeah,
all in, and you know they might fail, whatever. They're still going to keep going toward whatever they want to do, right? And
yeah.
you know that it takes a unique personality, right, to do that. And
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, look at you, man. Like you're an engineer, and now you have your own podcast. Come on, you know,
yeah, man.
right?
There you
Like
go.
you could either say, hey, I'm good with being an engineer, but obviously, like you're like, okay, maybe there's something missing a little bit that I want to go this route, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, and you were actually the one that introduced me to the BRRRR model, I think, if I remember
Uh-huh.
correctly. And for those that don't know the BRRRR model, you know, I know you leverage this strategy now. I don't know if are you doing other than like single family deals? Are you doing multifamily stuff too? Like what's your approach to real estate, and teach people what the BRRRR model is if they're not
So,
familiar
so
with
the
it.
BRRRR model is, I mean, you guys can look at it. I mean, I'll try to explain it as briefly as possible. And then you guys, if somebody like wants to dig deeper, like there's tons of videos on it and YouTube, and you can go to like Bigger Pockets and look at, you know, step by step. But it's basically buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. Right? So you buy the house, you fix it up, and then you rent it out, and then you refinance it to get all the money out that you again. So I mean, does that make sense? I can go a lot deeper than that as far as like it sounds simple, but there's also different ways, like as far as like, hey, there's evaluating the property, right? Making sure the numbers work out, you know, making sure
Right.
that, hey, you are paying the right price to where the actual burst strategy works. Because there's times where it doesn't work, you know, there's
Right.
times because the goal is to actually refinance the property at, let's say, 70 to 80%, to where the whole cost of rehabbing the property and purchasing it is within that 70 to 80% range of what the property value is, so that you can pull all your money back. Yeah.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit there. So, you know, if I heard you right, you know, you buy the property, you remodel it, so you're investing some money into it, you rent it out, then you go back to the bank and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to refinance this house," and you pull all of your initial investment back out. So you basically got zero money into the deal, and you've got a cash flowing rental property, and
Yeah.
you go do it again. right? You
Yeah.
repeat it.
Yeah. And you repeat it.
Yeah. That's crazy. So like when I heard about that, that was one of those things too. When I first heard about it, I'm like, that sounds too good to be true. Like you can't do that. It almost sounds illegal, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was the same way for me, in the beginning. I'm like, okay, well, but if you run the numbers right, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the numbers,
Right.
it comes down to the numbers. You run it correctly, and then you're good. Like you have a cash flow. It's moving, a property that's producing cash flow, and at the same time, you're pulling all your money out. So you
Yeah.
can technically, let's say, if you have like $30,000, you can technically buy, let's say, 100 properties with 30 grand, because you're just recycling it, doing it over and over and over. I have a buddy right now that because in the beginning too, like another thing, when you have, like, for example, if you have a W-2 job, it's a lot easier because you're bankable. That was kind of like, I guess you could say, my mistake when I first started is I got my first 3 properties and then I quit my job, where I shouldn't have done that, but I was like, okay, I was still anxious to like get on it, so I quit my job. So I just started wholesaling there for a little bit. Can
Yeah,
you hear
man.
me properly?
That's something that's important, right? You gotta know, as if your goal is to get out of a W-2 job, you really gotta know your exit strategy and like,
Yeah.
that's an important thing for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that BRRRR model's cool. And when you think about the Cardone Capitals, or I had a buddy, Rohan Jahar, who founded JT Capital. He's over in Austin now doing large like multifamily deals. They do that same sort of thing, right? Where they're buying a property that they can invest a little money into, raise the rent, and potentially, pay back all their investors and still have, ownership. Those investors still have ownership in that property and still be making money off it for years, right? While they have all their investment back, plus some maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I've had a couple of buddies that actually, like, one of my buddies right now, like, he's trying to get me into tackling this 50 unit in Austin, but I kind of, told him like, hey, I'm not ready for that yet. Because
Sure.
he has a couple of friends there. I'm not sure. Maybe they're related to one of your friends, because you said your friend is in Austin, right?
Yeah, he's on the podcast. His first deal was 300 units. That's his
Wow.
first real estate deal he did.
Yeah.
And he did what you did. He found somebody that was in the business and said, "Hey man, I'm going to work for you for free and I want to learn." And that's how he got his start, just like you, right? And what he said is, like, a real estate deal is a real estate deal is a real estate deal. It's basically the same amount of work, no matter what size it is. It's the same. It's pretty much the same process. It just, obviously there's more quantity or scope, I guess, to rehabbing and things like that when you're doing like large multifamily stuff. But he's like, it's pretty much the same deal, and the numbers all pretty much work the same. So, I thought that was really interesting, because for me, it's like, oh, I'm kind of like you. It's like, well, I don't know if I'm ready for some big multifamily thing, right? But then he kind of challenged my thought process a little bit. I'm like, huh.
No, I agree with that 100%. So when I realized that, I started looking into multi-units now.
Yeah.
So I took a little break from it. So during the COVID time, but whenever I get back to this, I'm just gonna focus on multi-units. The cash flow is just so much better,
Yeah.
So this whole COVID situation kind of like changed my entire schedule as far as just everything,
Sure.
It pointed me, like everybody else, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. So I was doing, I think at the beginning of this, I was doing about 7 rehabs all at once. And I just got caught like right as that whole pandemic happened, to where I'm like trying to sell 3 properties. And I'm like, man, what the heck? Everything just stopped,
Right.
So I had to kind of change my plan as far as like, okay, where is the opportunity right now? So it took me to the stock market.
There you go. You into crypto?
It took me to the stock market. So I got really deep for like 2 months, just like figuring out like everything, So now, like not a big time, but maybe like 4 hours of the day, I allocate towards that part,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
So that's what I've been doing. Like I'm trying to manage a couple of this project in Rosenberg, and I got two in Angleton that we're building from the ground up. But and then the rest of the time, well, in the beginning, in the morning, I'm usually like looking at the markets, looking at blockchain and all kinds of other fun stuff.
That's cool, man. Have you gotten into crypto?
Oh yeah, I am deep into crypto right now.
Cool, man. Cool.
How about you?
I haven't, man.
How about you?
I haven't gotten into it. I have some buddies that have. Some have done well. Some have, maybe not done so well. It's one of those things.
Yeah, like I'm deep into crypto right now, man.
I've heard horror stories. I've heard horror stories of people who, are like sitting there looking at their Bitcoins, right?
Uh-huh.
And just watching someone drain them.
Oh my God.
And they can't do a thing about it because it's not regulated. I mean, it's like the wild, wild west.
It is.
And they're sitting there, with tens of thousands of dollars in Bitcoins and just literally watching them go to zero. And they can't do a thing about it.
Is there some of your friends or what?
Yeah, just somebody I know, but I mean, it's you can do well. Lots of people have done really well.
No, you just have to have an exit strategy. I have like price targets, and then I'll take them out.
Sure.
But I've been kind of busy like understanding that world.
So I think that's a huge bomb you just dropped right there. Is you've got like whatever you're doing, you always need to know your exit strategy.
Yes.
That is such I think
you have to have one.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to like just being ready, right? Like I wasn't ready for the pandemic. Nobody was ready. Who would have thought that they were gonna like stop the world was just gonna stop,
Right.
So now understanding that, hey, that's possible, I gotta have multiple sources of income. So I started focusing into like other asset class that can produce like daily, if not weekly income for me, So that's how I got deep into this side. And then what started happening was my returns were like exponentially better in the stock market in this whole year. You can say it's a blessing in disguise, but I don't know. So what I'm doing right now, I'm focusing a lot of time here, but eventually when I can exit this and whatever profit I made for this is going back to real estate,
Sure.
Yeah, it's all going back to real estate. So
yeah, man, multiple sources of income is key, and having the exit strategy is key. Let's chat a little bit about this becoming your own bank stuff, because it's really an interesting topic. And, I know, probably don't want to get into a ton of detail necessarily today, but, it's fascinating me, right? The concept from the start, like when I heard about it and was like, what, you can actually like do what the Rothschilds and all these big bankers do. And, in a way, right, it's not exactly the same thing, but, it kind of blew me away, and I thought it was too good to be true. So, share with our listeners a little bit about how, a properly structured whole life insurance policy can actually give you an asset that can be accessed and, used for deals or all sorts of things, right? And keep money in the family, right? Keep money in the family tax-free for generations.
Yeah. So I mean, you said it perfectly, right? When you listen to this and you're like, this is too good to be true. That was basically my first, my reaction to it when I first discovered it. But it comes down to like I said in the beginning, when you have that mindset of kind of like you're in a search in a way, you're constantly searching or have your mind open to different ideas and just kind of like looking at it from, I guess, without any judgment, I would say, because everybody has that life and automatically, goes over their head, right? So yeah, I discovered this, I think 6-7 years ago. I looked at it. I looked into it. I researched it a little bit. I read the book by Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. And then I started looking online of who I can find in Houston that teaches this stuff. And then
Again,
I come across
you're looking
Clay,
for somebody that
from
knows the stuff. You're looking for someone that's doing it. Like
yeah,
that is
knows the
such an
stuff, because I'm
important
like, I want
thing.
to get on this. Yeah, I want to get on this like right now, So I found Clay, and then I set a meeting with him, sat down with him, and he basically just explained the whole process with me. So I got a much better understanding of how it works, right? So I guess to simplify it, it's not, we never teach it as an investment, right? It's like it's almost like it's a wealth foundation, it's where everything starts, and it's not for everybody as well, because not everybody can, it doesn't make sense if you're not capable of saving, let's say, 600 a month, 1,000 a month, because some people are not there yet. There's a lot of I always tell people, if you're not ready for this yet, then you can go read Gordon Ramsay's book. What's that book that he had? Have you
Gordon Ramsay?
no, sorry,
Dave
what's his
Ramsey.
name? Dave Ramsey.
Oh
Dave
yeah,
Ramsey.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Because he has
most people probably only know Dave Ramsey and how he's, because I've heard Dave Ramsey for years, right? He's like, why would you spend a bunch of money on whole life when you can get term life insurance for cheap? And it's
Yes,
like,
yes, absolutely.
ding, 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 bingo. If you're wanting life insurance, then you
Yeah,
should probably have term life insurance. If you want
yeah.
a really, really good savings account that you can leverage and have access to and is going to compound for you and you can pass on tax free to the next generation, then you need a
It's
properly
like,
structured whole life policy, right?
yeah, absolutely.
There's no better way
No,
to
no, I
save
listen.
money.
I actually read his book, Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover. And I agree with a lot of his teachings, man, because I went through that process, right? In the beginning, it's like, hey, you cut everything out, right? And then you put a ledger and you write every single expenses that you have. And you make sure that whatever you're taking in, you have a percentage that you're putting to the side, to save, right?
Yeah.
So I get all that concept, and a lot of people are probably, need to go through that process before, they can start doing stuff that we're doing, But as far as this, like creating generational wealth, there's really no better tool, And we use this as well for college funding. I'm thinking about doing another 2 for my kids, because I'm already in my second one right now.
Oh, okay.
So going back to that concept, it's almost too, it's simple, yet it's hard to understand, right? So you're creating basically a savings account where you can collateralize. So the key word there is you can collateralize it. So you leave your money where it continues to grow uninterrupted, and you can actually benefit from the compound interest, because in the beginning, like they say, like it's kind of like watching paint dry, like you look at it, it grows really slow.
Right.
But once you get to like the 7th year, and then the 8th year, and then the 9th year, and then the 15th year, and then the 20th year, and then you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I started this,
Right.
So that's really when you see the power of it, So yeah, and in relation to real estate, it really is just like, hey, I have my infinite banking here. This is my bank, right? So I just, whenever I have deals, I pull the money out. I use it for, I deploy it for real estate. Recently, I've deployed it to the stock market, whatever, blockchain, crypto, whatever you're into, while this money is still growing, right? So you have your money here sitting, compounding at 5%, 6%, and it's not being interrupted. Mm-hmm. So this money is constantly growing while this one is working. So you almost have 2 asset classes working for you,
Yeah, that's real compounding, right? When you got your
real
money growing here and
mm-hmm.
a real estate deal making you money here and stocks making you money here. I mean, that's
it's hard too, man, because there's a lot of products out there that people are actually selling, like like Universal and all that stuff, that it doesn't really do the same thing, like you're looking for that guarantee, right? Because a lot of people will sell something else, and then it doesn't perform the way it's supposed to, so that's that. It gives it a bad name, I would say.
Oh yeah.
So it's hard. You can say like, hey, that's another reason why I wanted to kind of do this, the lessons, because I feel like, hey, it's really important to kind of get this in people's mind. Like you almost have to hear it like what 10 times before it clicks, before it registers, right?
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I think is important for the GLE network, like so many things we hear about, we hear about this thing and we just dismiss it before we even actually look into it or think about it.
Yeah.
Like for you'll hear about this concept and it's like, oh well, that's too good to be true. That can't, I don't need to pay attention to that, whatever. You might ask people in your network, right? You might ask your mom or your dad or your brother or whatever, and they're like, oh, that's a scam.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that, right? But
Yeah.
they only know what their circle knows, right? Just like our families said, go be an engineer, go be a doctor, go be whatever, right? But until you actually go listen and look into these things and find people, I think the important thing is making sure you find people that are doing what you want to do. They're doing the
Yeah.
things that you're looking into, right? Like
It's
go
kind of,
learn
it's
from
kind of
them.
like
Don't talk to people who aren't doing it. What do they know?
yeah, man. It's like that saying, what is that, like, when you're ready, the master will
Yeah.
appear, right?
When the student is
Like,
ready, the master appears, right?
yeah. So most people, I mean, you have to want it, right? You have to want wealth. You have to want success in order to be open to different ideas, or just be open to something different. So that's probably the hardest part for most people to kind of understand, and the people that most people out there are not there.
Right.
They don't have, I guess they don't have that drive, I would say. Like you got to want it. It's
Sure.
it's not an easy path, but you got to want it, right?
Definitely not an easy path. And you do have to want it for sure. So, for somebody, Joe, that might be looking into this or wanting to learn more about what you're sharing today, where would they go to find more information?
Well, you can go to the website, like uplandingedge.com or rpedge.com, Clay's website or my website. Like I work with him with everything. So there's tons of videos over there that would keep people busy, and
Yeah, interesting stuff, man,
watch
for sure.
it. Figure out if it's something that you want to add to your arsenal. Your financial tools. So
Yeah, I think what the way you described it, I think is really important. It's because most people think, they hear about something and they think you're trying to sell them some magic bullet or whatever, right? Like there is no magic bullet to getting wealthy.
none.
There's hard work. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Having a tool like what you're describing is one piece of
It's one piece.
your strategy, right? Of a
Yeah.
much bigger strategy. And I think that's so important because there's so many people that, they'll preach their one thing, right? And it's like, well, that one thing might be a good thing, but it's not everything.
It's not everything. You're
Exactly.
always looking for the most efficient way, like especially when it comes down to like the whole concept of infinite banking. It's like trying to get the money that you're giving away unknowingly and unnecessarily, right? You're trying to like recapture that. So it's more like a hedge than anything, like letting your money grow somewhere where, and the life insurance aspect of it is just a bonus, which is great. And if anything happens to me, my family is set, so
Right.
and there's
Yeah.
that's like the bonus part to me. Like I don't even care about that, like I don't use it for that, but that's just a great bonus in the end, so
Yeah, for sure. And I think most people, and maybe I'm talking most people who aren't wealthy, right? Because wealthy people have been doing this for generations, and it's
yeah.
really for them a way to protect their wealth because otherwise they're going to get hit with death tax and all sorts of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this, like, I didn't even realize that that was a problem for people, because I'm not from a super duper wealthy family, but
Well, I'm
for
not,
people that
not
have,
me neither,
yeah, so for people that have serious money, right, like death tax, I mean that is a huge thing where, like, when they die they're
Yeah.
losing like half their wealth, right? It's crazy.
Dude, I met a guy when I was learning about like real estate in California. I flew to California, I took my wife there. I met a guy that had 16 policies.
Jeez.
16 policies. And he's just putting everything in it, because he knows what's going to happen. It's been, yeah, like you said, like it's how to transfer wealth to the next generation. And you can access it
right
whenever you want, So you get to that 10, 15, 20 year, you can just access the money. If you decide, hey, one day, 20 years later, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, you take it out. But why would you? Every dollar you put in at that time, you'll probably get like 60, 70% return on your money, which is writing a check,
Yeah.
So.
And this is, for those that are financial planners and financial planning, right? Everyone's talking 401ks and Roth IRAs and all this stuff. So you got tax deferred accounts, you got tax now accounts, and then there's no tax accounts, which you need too, right? And again, it's, that's one piece of that bigger picture for people that are doing those things.
Yeah, man.
So Joe, man, it's been super fun. What are you up to today? And you got anything exciting you want to share with the audience? And where can people find you?
No, I'm really, like, right now I'm gonna train. I'm probably gonna go to the gym here and swim. Swim for like an hour. I'm just a little bit nervous with this this Ironman thing. I don't even know why. Normally I was preparing for 6 months. To get to like April, and then it gets canceled, and then now I'm signed up like 30 days later. I'm like, oh gosh.
How old are you, man?
I'm 40. I just turned 40.
Oh my goodness, dude.
You're
brave.
How old are you?
I'm a baby. I just turned 32.
Oh wow, man.
I'm just a child. And
at 32,
I would never have guessed you were 40, but I have a story because you've aged very well. You do not look 40. You look young. I'm the opposite, man. I was at the office.
I just have to work harder, man. Like, you work out now, like you work out like your life depends on it. Like I'm like struggling, I'm crawling, but I'm like, I gotta go,
Man, I was talking to someone the other day, and this was like in my 20s, right? So a few years back, and they were like, they made some comment, and I was like, how old do you think I am? And they thought I was in my 40s, and I was like, man, I must have been drinking too much scotch and smoking too many cigars in my 20s. Apparently I looked in my 40s, man.
When did you get married?
I got married I was 29. So
29,
for
okay.
April 21st, 2018.
Okay.
That sound right? So 3 years?
3 years. Okay. So
yeah, man.
So,
3 years.
Baby,
just had the first baby on September 1st, and so she's
amazing.
6 months now.
It's great, dude. Like you'll have a lot of fun.
You got 2 kids,
change you, right? Like this is like, huh?
2 kids?
Yeah, two. I got a 2 and 6-year-old. He's turning 6 next week. So
awesome, man.
Preparing for that party for next week, Ninja Turtle party for the kids, so
Awesome.
But yeah, that's I'm done, man. That's it. No more kids.
Throwing in the
they
towel.
Take a lot of your time. I'm done with 2. 2 is good for me,
I got my other buddy had his second, but his second was twins, and so he has 3, and he threw in the towel too.
Do you want more or what?
Nah, he's done.
How about you?
Oh yeah, we want more. We'll see what God blesses us with. We have a baby girl. I want to try for a boy for sure.
Yeah.
But
no, they're a lot of fun, man. I look at my girl and it's like, I just kind of melt, like it's great. Man. I love it. Like I don't even go out anymore. I like hanging out with the family.
Yeah, God knew I needed a baby girl, man. She's softened my heart. Yeah. Oh man, such a
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you.
Well, everybody, make sure you go find Joe. You can find him at upplanningedge.com or learn more about what he's talking about at rpedge.com as well. You're on, are you on any of the socials that you want to share?
I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'll get into the video things eventually, man. I got this whole year, I just kind of veered off, from it. Like I just focused on this whole thing, So.
That's what entrepreneurs do, man. They adjust, right? They got to adjust. There are lots of business owners that had to do a complete 180 this year, right?
Yeah. You have to adjust. Like all my real estate business is all online now. I don't even go to appointments anymore, you know?
Oh,
So
wow.
just automated everything, calls, closing on the phone, you know, everything just online, you know, no more going to the properties, which is actually good. It's good and it's bad, you know. It's like I'm stuck at the house, you know.
Yeah.
So
Awesome, man. Well, good talking to you, Joe.
good
Thanks for
catching
coming on the
up,
show,
bud.
brother.
All right, man. Take care.